Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about Galaxy Z Fold 3. So let's dive right into it. Now first you have to understand Fold 3 is the third attempt. It's very clear in the name, and the idea for this puppy is that because of the crisis that we are going through, that there will be no longer any note made for this year, maybe next year, but for this year, as in for 2021, there will not be any new note. So this puppy will have to take care for that also. Basically, people who wanted to buy the new note should buy this instead. And the primary reason for that is basically chip shortages, because there are, at this point in time, there are barely three semiconductor manufacturers on large scale. One is Samsung, one is TMC, other is like way too small comparatively speaking. So Samsung is facing a lot of over demand, so to say, and so is TMC. So reality is supply has to be managed, so they are like, okay, let's compromise on note at this point in time. And Samsung is also going overall as a corporation going through some very serious market share loss. Now why the heck Samsung is losing market share? Well, who knows? I have to make a whole detailed video about that, but the reality is Samsung is losing people's perspective. Basically, even though Samsung is a big brand, as in at this point in time nobody thinks of Samsung as a cheap device or something like that, but there is no love to it. Basically it's like Samsung is like blah. It's like you Apple or Samsung. So Samsung is on the same footing as that, but it does not have the people like, hey, Samsung devices are good, like software is really not that good. So fundamentally speaking, they're losing market share, and basically Chinese brands are taking over at ludicrously high speed. So they had to do something very big. So this puppy is basically what they're aiming for. They should give them the edge, basically, where they can say, I'm the only one who can give you this. At this point in time, this is the only mass manufacturer who can say, no, you can book our fold phones and you're gonna get it. So that is a very critical aspect, and that's why this time they are not aiming for wow factor, they are aiming for price factor, meaning they are releasing Z3 to get all the attention, but on the quite they are also releasing Z Flip, and the primary aspect of Z Flip is that this puppy is around $1,000. Now that's a very critical aspect. At this point in time, many people buy phones that are $1,000. So if you can buy a folding for $1,000, it becomes much more palatable to many people. And you may be like, okay, this is not the latest and greatest in terms of performance compared to a dedicated phone, let's say ROG phone or things of that nature, but here's this is a folding phone. So in terms of novelty factor, it is far more digestible. You're like, let me give it a shot, and it's not a bad phone. It's a good competent phone with a new unique feature, so people may like it. So that's why Samsung is trying to make sure the price point is so low. Now let's talk about specs. Well, hilariously enough, we don't have to talk about anything because it has Snapdragon 888 and 5G with 5 nanometer manufacturing process. So you don't have to think about this. Like, if you are having issue running any application on this puppy, it's like either there is a glitch in the app or something fundamentally broken. It's more than good enough. Let's just put it that way. It has 12 GB of RAM and 256 GB of storage. However, I do not like the fact that it does not have SD card, which I'm pretty sure is a money cutting scheme, but that simply means there will the probability of having SD card in Fold 4 is almost zero now. So that's a big bummer. And on top of that, the display now has been balanced. So meaning the inside display and the outside display, both puppy are running at 100 to 20 hertz. And the biggest complaint with basically last variant was that display was not bright enough. They fixed it. The brightness goes up to 1200 nits, which is good brightness, as in even in broad daylight, even if sun is directly falling on it, you should be able to make out something on it. So it's really good at that point in time. And they are toning down the camera from the last generation, where they're like going YOLO. They're not going YOLO, they are going practical. So they have 12 megapixels, basically like how iPhone does. Now you'll be like, why exactly 12, not 24, not anything, but why exactly 12? Apparently that's the most convenient basically resolution for entire app ecosystem. And you will notice that, like, I have a camera that has like 64 megapixel, but I have to go to a special menu to activate that. And anybody who has that 100 megapixel, there is a mode, you have to activate that mode. The primary reason is that the moment you share something like that, it will get squished to 12 anyway. So that's why 12 is like such a loved point at this point in time. So Samsung is like, okay, if everything is gonna squished anyway, and if you are buying folding phone, you are buying it for goddamn folding technology, the big ass display, not for camera. So they are like, that's a good way to balance the economics of the things. They have 4 megapixel under display camera. Now be mindful, this is a Gen 1. There are some other manufacturers who have achieved better under display technology than Samsung does, but Samsung is a tier 1 manufacturer, meaning not only they have the ability to make the sensors itself, the OLED itself, or almost a whole thing itself. Once they start to make it, that simply means in next 2-3 years this will become an absolute technology. Basically everybody will have it. And they have 10 megapixel cover camera, which I'm like, why the heck 10? It's like, do you had to make a small sensor for that? Because that's the only reason I can think why it's 10 megapixel. Otherwise, it would have made more sense for 12 megapixel. But I think the sensor size is physically larger. So this has first Samsung's under screen system, and in terms of battery, they made it a bit smaller, around 4,400 milliamp hour. And the primary reason for that is like people were bitching about the fact that it was too fat. Basically, it was a bit uncomfortable to put into a pocket. So they wanted to make sure this puppy is a bit slimmer. Now you're like, what does bit slimmer mean? Ironically, a lot. I mean, a lot. Like if a phone is like bit fatter, you're not gonna use it. If a phone is a bit slimmer, you're gonna love it. So that's why like there's like a lot of engineers whose sole job is to fine tune it. So they must have figured out like, you know, this is the part where they can compromise. And in terms of charging, there has a 25-watt charging, which is not ludicrous but also not bad, and 11 watt of wireless charging, which people may find like, you know, not amazing, but if it can go give you one whole day of battery life, it's more than good enough. Now let's talk about the build. Now this is the part where Samsung is like, you know, focusing a big thing, because folding, the first thing people think about, is it robust? Now physics says no, it cannot be as robust as like, you know, candy bar phone. Physics does not allow that. So what is the next best thing? Well, dust is the biggest weakness, and they are flat out like IPX. I can't handle dust. Don't think about dust. I cannot manage dust. And again, it does make sense because dust has the ability to grind away things, and when you have moving parts, it can grind away things. So fundamentally speaking, that's not something to be blamed. But Samsung did figure out, what if they have a hinge which cannot be waterproofed? What if they freaking waterproof the electronics? So aka, if you open this puppy up and you look at the PCB, it's like it's coated. So what does that mean? That simply means if water gets into it, it's not gonna go short circuit instantaneously. It can endure for much longer. Now be mindful, it's a coating, it's not multi-layer gasket with multi-layer sealing with epoxy and all that just that military grade equipment has to do and submarine has to do. It's not like that good, but it's good. And it simply means that if you drop your phone in swimming pool, because again, people buying this generally have access to swimming pool, it's not gonna go broke instantaneously. So that's amazing. And that also creates a mental image where people are like, this device is robust. Like, what is the first thing you worry about your electronics? You don't worry about it breaking, you worry about it being damaged by water, because we surround ourselves with water. Rain happens. So you can easily find people who have never dropped their phone, but the phone still went broke simply because of water. So that's why this is a very good strategy. And also in terms of robustness, it also teaches them. It's like, how can we actually make it waterproof? And what is the waterproof rating in real world? And it also supports S Pen, because now they have far higher confidence in the basically display technology. It's like it can endure some level of abuse. So they are giving you S Pen Pro. Be mindful, you have to have a toggle switch in it. You switch it, then it engages the spring, so it becomes much softer, and then you can utilize it on them. The aluminum also used is also super hard, which I really like the fact. I really don't get the fact why the heck people have glass on the phone. It's like, glass is a fragile equipment. Why the heck you want to cover your phone in fragile equipment? It's like, give me battle armor, give me freaking Kevlar and stuff, and why the heck you're giving me glass? It's like, oh, I drop in on the back, everything is good, yeah, the back casing glass has broken. It's like, why? So I do like that part. And it should inherently, everybody who's using it at this point in time is saying that this feels, it should be a long-lasting device. What does that mean? That simply means Fold 1 was an experiment. Fold 2 was surprisingly good compared to Fold 1. Fold 3 is like, they have already learned as many as they can, and they cannot do amazing things while keeping the price down. So they are focusing on a device such a way that it's like anybody who's buying this now, and again, it's far more affordable at $1,800, which is like, I think, almost the same price as upper level iPhone. You know, people should buy this, and they should be able to use this puppy for a few years before, you know, it go broke. So build quality is focused on that, and that's why the water resistance is such an interesting concept. Now let's focus on software aspect of it, and that's the whole point. You can have a folding phone, it just means nothing if the software experience sucks. And this time Google and Samsung both are working on it. Even Spotify are working on it, simply because like you can easily see Linus Tech Tips, the detailed video. It's like, so Spotify supports the fact that there is a huge ass display in this mobile phone, and the idea is utilization of big display is Android's biggest limitation at this point in time. Why we can't use our mobile phone as a desktop? Not because it does not have enough computational power, it does not have enough space, does not have enough, it has more than enough of everything. But why can't we use it? Simple reality is like, even if I have my mobile phone, cast it on this huge ass display, I still can't use it, simply because my UI element would be this huge. And this you can see versus Fold 2 versus Fold 3. Fold 2, you go to menu and it's like huge ass menu, but here's the deal, the half of the display is just white bars, there is no data there. So somebody is like, hey, we have space, what if we use that? So you have main menu and sub menu of each of this menu are shown in here. So you just have to do one tap, done. go home, sweet dreams. So that's the whole point. The software is the weak link at this point in time, and Samsung is working on it, Google is working on it, simply because Google's gonna release a Google Pixel Fold in, I think, 1 or 2 years from now. So that's also that's the primary reason why Google is focusing on that, and more people are going for bigger and bigger phones. So at some point we have to realize that, you know, if you are casting, you know, your mobile phone or TV, or you want to use it as a, you know, proper laptop replacement, you have to have better UI. We have everything else. We have the performance, we have the horsepower. Heck, people have done video editing on mobile phone. The only reason iPad is, like, you know, in the legendary status is simply because it has the UI that allows it to use it, the big display. Everything else we already, Android tablets already have, it just don't have the UI interface. So people working on it is really amazing. The fact you can use 2 apps, people like, you know, 3 apps, it's not that useful, but in some scenario it may be. I really like this fact because, like, I used to be an artist, so this is one thing that I would rather do. So there's a lot of help, there's a lot of effort put into the software side of things, and this is what will either make or break this device, because people will buy this and there will be an amazing aspect for everybody. Even 2-3 years from now, people pull this out and open it, like, whoa, that will be there, but not for the person using the phone. For the person using the phone, software is more important. So the fact that Samsung is focusing on that is really good. So what we can expect in the future? Well, at this point in time, you can be damn sure folding is here to stay, as in rollable display or folding display or other, this sort of display are here to stay. They're gonna be here because there are folding laptops nowadays. So this is a real thing that's gonna be stay on the market. Now, how it will you know, depict in the mobile ecosystem? Well, it will become a real status symbol. Now, Apple it used to be a status symbol, but it no longer holds the same value, simply because every Tom, Dick and Harry has that. It's like, you cannot, oh, this is a Rolex, yeah, that you know, that beggar also has a Rolex. Like, it does not carry that same value. So fundamentally speaking, if everybody has Apple no longer has that value. It does have ecosystem benefit, but does not have the mine is bigger than yours. So fundamentally, many Indians buy iPhone simply for that. It's like, you know, mine is bigger than yours. But again, if everybody can buy iPhone, it no longer has that status symbol. So folding phones have that true status symbol. Basically, think of it this way. It's like why people buy gold iPhones. That's the whole point. This has the advantage of screaming that, bro, I'm richer than you. Okay, don't come closer to me. I am richer than you. I'm like far richer than you. Like, you have to like, people say, no, it's like people who ask the price of Ferrari can't afford it. That's the whole vibe that you get out of it, because anybody looking at it is like, what the hell is a folding screen? They know for a fact that this is expensive. So that's the amazing aspect of it. And the more and more basically software improves, the more and more richer people will start to utilize that. And I would love the fact that there will be finally apps that utilize largest display. Like, think of this way, like, you can run your whole computer on full HD display. Your mobile phone have higher display than that, yet you still can't do half of it. Like, I'm talking basic thing like Google Sheet editing, you can't do that. So that's the reality of it. So I'm really looking forward to this, especially for the software side of things. So this was my presentation on Samsung Galaxy Fold 3. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.